Good afternoon. I'm Tom Tinker from the Humanities Department at the Mary C. Wheeler School. Before we start this discussion, I would like to introduce the panel. To my left is Lauren Bonoff from the 11th grade. To her left, Julie Everard from the 10th grade. To my right, Mickey Barges from the 10th grade, Nancy Bowen from the 11th grade, and Nancy Tegler from the 11th grade, who is also graduating at the end of this year. Before we start this discussion, I think I should narrate a bit of what we had tried to do at Wheeler in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, the English and History departments decided to combine. We felt that we should adopt an interdisciplinary approach toward education, and furthermore, we felt that the English departments and the history departments had become too compartmentalized. Even though we wished to communicate with each other, we hadn't been. As a result, we felt we should join. In doing that, we felt we should also offer some fundamentals to education. So in the 9th grade, we offer a course which we call the 3 Stages of Man. It focuses on classical man, pre-modern man, and modern man. In the 10th grade, we offer a course which we call American Studies, which fulfills the state requirement of American history. Both these courses are what we call inquiry-oriented. We use inductive textbooks in both courses. We deal fundamentally with primary sources, and we ask students to deal with them and make their own conclusions. Secondly, we place a great deal of emphasis on expository writing. We hope to get the students to write at least 2 or 3 times a week, short paragraphs, and we emphasize the fundamentals of writing. At the top level of our humanities curriculum, in the 11th and 12th grades, we offer 12 elective courses per trimester, for a total of 36 courses for the year. Among those, we offer what we call core courses. We offer 3 core courses in history-oriented humanities courses, but we use literature in them. We have an American core sequence, we have a European core sequence, and we have an Asian core sequence. By the same token, we have English humanities-oriented courses, which emphasize the fundamentals in English. We have one sequence that runs through poetry, short story, the novel. We have another sequence that covers comedy and tragedy. The rest of the curriculum in the elective program is made up of courses which emphasize teacher interests and, in some cases, emphasize student interests. Now, what I would like to do for the rest of this program is to kind of open this up for discussion, focus the first part of the discussion on the lower level, the 9th and 10th grades, and the second part in the 11th and 12th grades. So I throw out the first question. In the 9th and 10th grade, 3 Stages of Man and American Studies, do you think, students, that the courses accomplish the aims that they have set out to accomplish?
Yes, I think it does, because American Studies, which I'm taking right now, is setting the basic groundwork and giving some basic facts about the history of America, in addition to fulfilling the state requirements, so that in the junior and senior years I can narrow my focus and go more into depth into electives which I'm truly interested in.
I think it's a good idea, but I don't think that you're given enough facts in the basic program. You learn how to write and to express your ideas very well, but unfortunately you just don't have enough facts to back them up, and I can truthfully say that I know now about a quarter as much American history as the average high schooler does.
I found that I suffered the same thing. I took American history last year, and I had to take the American history AT to get into college, and I found that I had to study for the AT. I had to get a book and study because I did not know the facts. We had the inquiry system where we had questions that we were skilled at answering, first writings and stuff like that, so we just couldn't get the specific facts, the history that a lot of colleges will require you to know.
Do you think it's essential that you accumulate this body of knowledge?
Well, it depends, but a lot of people don't, consider history essential at all. But to me, if I'm going to be able to, write a paper or something, I think the facts are the basic things that I have to use to build, and I find myself lacking in facts in American history.
I think that the courses could be improved if we did supplement them with basic information. But as we have it now, it's good in that you're forced to think and make hypotheses from the primary sources which you're given. And in writing paragraphs, you develop these hypotheses, which is very good, in addition to improving your English skills.
Because I think a lot of the program depends on individual motivation or interest, you know. At least in the elective course, because, I mean, there's so much the teacher gives you, but then there's so much more behind what she gives you, and you're only going to find it if you're interested or if you want to work and you're willing to work. So that I don't know, I wouldn't think that if you weren't interested in the courses that you'd get nearly as much out of it. I'm sure that's true with any course, but particularly this type of course.
Do you think we're interesting more students with a humanities approach, interdisciplinary approach, than under the standard?
Yeah, because rather than learning Romeo and Juliet as a junior, and as a freshman studying mythology, and in your senior year maybe you get into some other type of drama. You go into a field in depth which you're really interested in, and you're allowed to focus on this, and kind of more of an independent study type arrangement where you're allowed to pick.
And you really learn how to express yourself, because you can see a certain period from two different viewpoints, from the culture side and from the history side that goes on. It really helps a lot. It makes you feel it.
That's in the electives, but people I did think get stuck in ruts. Like I know I spent most of the year studying Asian studies and nothing else. And that was because I chose to take the sequence of courses. But if I could take more Asian studies, I would take it next year. Kind of thing. And I know so little about.
Well, that's what's good about the electives, though, is that I really feel like for the first time in a long time that I'm really being educated in a way, because you can choose like a field, and as Drew said, you really do go into such depth that when you get out of the course, you feel that you have a pretty, good basic knowledge of that subject. And whereas if you do take a sequence, then you really know. But let's say you want to go into literature afterwards, you can take something like that, and you can feel, pretty well-rounded, and that's good. I think that's the biggest advantage of the courses.
Well, that's kind of what we thought when we were creating the thing. Our theory is that we're trying to build skills, and if that's our aim, and it is, then we don't have to worry about the accumulation of a vast scope of material, and that you can focus, if you want to, in Asian studies, and spend almost all of your time in it. The theory being that you pick up skills studying Asian studies in depth, and those skills will enable you to go off to European studies in college or American studies.
Well, I definitely think that having 36 courses that we can choose from within a year is like a big step forward than having 3 courses, one that you're going to take in sophomore year, one in junior year, one in your senior year. That's what my public school was like, and it's totally ridiculous.
What about the loss of time? Now, for example, at Wheeler, before we had the humanities approach, we required 1 year of world history, 1 year of American history, 1 year of a half course called current history, and then you were also required to take 4 years of English. Now, you're experiencing about half of that in the humanities program.
But most people last longer. They end up taking, I think where you're in a forced history situation, most people, well, not most, but about half the people will drop it after their sophomore year if it's not required any longer. And this way, you're pulling it through the senior year. I don't really know how important it is to know so much fact type of history, whereas here the emphasis is on just skills, as you said, which is something you're going to have to be using no matter what type of course you're taking. So
I think
that's a lot in that respect.
I think it helps you to learn kind of how to think and formulate ideas by using these primary sources and kind of picking out which is biased and how objective things are. And you develop hypotheses rather than being bombarded with facts, which you'll probably forget a year after.
I don't want to cut you off, running short on time. I'm wondering whether we could just run around and quickly summarize what you think is good and what you think is bad.
Well, I think it's good in that it forces you to think and develop your ideas especially by writing frequently. But I think one of the drawbacks is the lack of information.
I've been taking mostly history-oriented electives, and maybe I have, but I think that the electives can bring you into such depth that you really come out, if you put in, your 2 cents, you're more than 2 cents, you can really come out educated. The only, if that makes sense, come out educated. But the only drawback is the American history program. I don't think that that's an able springboard into the elective unless you are willing to really, as you say, go out and go to the library and put in more than what is expected in the classroom. You really have to work, and I think that's the drawback of that program. But if you work, the electives are magnificent. That's the saving grace of the school, really is.
I think that the humanities program is pretty solid, and it's all on pretty good.
I think the program is a lot better than a lot of places, schools I've seen, the electives. There's a lot of room for different people's interests and stuff. I would like to see the whole school on the elective system, and that's all.
I think one of the strongest points in the humanities is the combination of English and history. It makes the literature seem so much more relevant when you know exactly the period that you're studying and the history of that period. But I think one of the main drawbacks is in the curriculum that we don't have enough third world studies. We mainly study, Asian history, European and American, and we don't study Latin American or African history at all, or culture.
By way of summary, I'd like to mention some of the drawbacks that the humanities teachers have noticed. I think the most serious criticism of the program is the fact that in its 2 years so far, the direction in terms of course structure and course selection has been from the top down. In other words, the faculty has created the courses. The faculty offers them, 11th and 12th graders can select them, but we are still creating the courses. And what we intend to do in the future, starting next year, is create a committee on curriculum in humanities with faculty and students, and somehow get some kind of communication grassroots up so that we may create a curriculum that perhaps has more appeal to you than it does at the moment. Thank you very much.